Welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're decoding exactly how BuildScopeStudio handles complex digital projects for businesses. If you've ever had to hire an agency to build out a digital system, maybe it's a custom client portal, an e-commerce platform, or just a really robust marketing site, it can absolutely be a minefield, right? Well, we're going to take a super close look at the framework detailed over on BuildScopeStudio.com to understand their highly structured approach to development, scoping, and the final project handoff. Now, to really get their model, we kind of have to look at what they're fighting against, the classic, completely frustrating web agency experience. We're talking open-ended hourly billing, endless scope creep, and that dreaded platform lock-in where you're just trapped paying vendor fees literally forever. BuildScopeStudio essentially acts as an antidote to all of that. Their model is laser-focused on a scoped before we build mentality. It's built entirely around fixed scopes, doing the build on a staging environment first, and ensuring a 100% full handoff at the end. Okay, here's our roadmap. We'll be looking at 6 distinct areas today: the fixed scope solution, what BuildScope builds, the 6-step process, the client portal, the build scope difference, and finally FAQs and the final handoff. Let's dive right in.
Part 1. The fixed scope solution, eliminating the surprise invoice.
So this is the core mantra driving their whole operation. Fixed scope, fixed price, full handoff. BuildScope's fundamental philosophy is that when they deliver a project, everything is yours. The code, the database credentials, the hosting access, every single API configuration, it's all yours. They intentionally build without platform lock-in. What that really means is your internal team can run the whole system completely independently from day one. And that brings us to a really specific, honestly impressive metric they guarantee: 48. BuildScope actually promises that after you fill out a simple, structured 5-minute intake form, you're going to receive an itemized, line-by-line quote within exactly 48 hours. And the absolutely crucial point here is that this happens before you make any commitment whatsoever. There's no drawn-out sales call theater, just a rapid, incredibly precise evaluation of your project.
Moving on to Part 2. What BuildScope builds, the systems your business actually runs on.
Their data here gives us a brilliant look at their completely transparent pricing and timelines. They really do handle a wide range of needs. Marketing websites engineered around your specific sales motion, those run anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000 and take about 2 to 4 weeks. E-commerce and subscription storefronts run from $8,000 to $25,000, taking around 5 to 12 weeks. Branded client portals, which by the way eliminate messy email threads entirely, those are priced between $10,000 and $30,000. And then CMS or third-party integrations usually sit right between $2,000 and $8,000. But here is the absolute biggest takeaway from this. User-centered UI and UX design, plus lightning-fast performance and SEO, are completely built into every single tier from day one. They are not bolted on as an afterthought.
All right, Part 3. This 6-step process. Exactly how every project runs.
The absolutely crucial thing to note here is that this is a transparent, highly repeatable process you can actually hold them to right from day one. Step 1 is that quick 5-minute intake. Step 2, you get that line-by-line quote within 48 hours. Then, and literally only then, Step 3 is approving and paying a 50% deposit to kick off the development. Nothing at all starts without your explicit sign-off. Now, Step 4 is brilliant. They build the whole thing on a private staging environment so you can access it and see it anytime. Step 5 is the final review, where you approve the finished build, and only then do you pay the remaining balance. And finally, Step 6 is the launch and complete handoff of the entire codebase to you.
To see how this actually impacts clients in the real world, just take this quote from Rachel B. She's a head of product at a professional services firm. She highlights Step 4 specifically, saying that the staging environment alone made it worth it. She loved being able to see the portal taking shape week by week and knowing that the final payment just wasn't due until she was completely happy with it. It literally puts the control squarely back into the client's hands.
Part 4. The client portal. A project dashboard, not an email thread.
So, BuildScope includes a secure client portal from day one at no extra charge. You get live project status updates, which means you never have to send one of those awkward just checking in emails ever again. You also get direct messaging right with your developer, so no account manager middlemen playing telephone. You have really clear milestone approvals, completely transparent payment stages tied to actual deliverables, a centralized file exchange for all your brand assets, and a secure way to receive all your hosting credentials right at launch. The whole thing is specifically designed so that even non-technical founders can stay totally in control of the build from start to finish.
Which brings us to Part 5, the build scope difference. 3 things most agencies simply won't do.
Here's their first really powerful differentiator: Overruns are their problem, not yours. Because they scope everything line by line before actually building, the quote is completely contractual. If they happen to underestimate the work, well, they absorb the overrun. You don't get hit with a surprise invoice just because it took them a little longer than expected. And you know, this isn't just some empty marketing promise. It translates to real operational success. Marcus T., an operations director at a B2B software company, noted that after working with 2 previous agencies that billed hourly and totally blew past their budgets, getting BuildScope's line-by-line fixed quote was just a completely different experience. His project came in exactly on scope and exactly on time. Their next major differentiator is basically absolute freedom. Your code, your hosting, your data, forever. Once they deliver, your team runs independently. You are absolutely not forced to pay some mandatory monthly retainer just to keep the lights on if you don't want to. We can actually see the practical application of this in an experience shared by David L., who is a marketing agency COO. He pointed out that they handed the codebase over to their in-house developer just 2 months after launch because everything was perfectly documented and self-hosted. Exactly as promised, they experienced 0 lock-in and 0 surprise vendor fees. How great is that?
And finally, Part 6, FAQs and the final handoff. Questions sophisticated buyers ask.
Now, this is definitely the elephant in the room with any kind of fixed scope agreement. A smart, wary buyer is immediately going to ask, well, what if my project needs changes after we start? Like, are we entirely locked into that initial document?
Well, this brilliantly illustrates their commitment to flexibility, but without the surprise charges. Small clarifications and minor refinements, those are actually already included in the quoted scope. But if you decide midway through that you want to add entirely new features beyond what was originally agreed upon, they just write up a separate change order. They price it all out before they build it, meaning you are always fully aware of the exact cost before any new work begins. 0 surprises.
Here's a secondary question that comes up a ton. Do I need to be technical to work with you?
The answer to that is a resounding no. Their entire workflow, the client portal, the milestone approvals, that staging environment we talked about, it is all explicitly designed for non-technical founders and business owners. They take all that complex developmental jargon and translate it into plain, easy-to-understand language. That ensures that you, the business leader, remain the one making the educated decisions the whole way through.
As we wrap up this explainer on BuildScopeStudio's framework, I really want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. If you were to part ways with your current web agency tomorrow, who really owns the digital systems your business runs on? Think about it. It is a completely critical question, and BuildScope's strict 0 lock-in, full handoff philosophy is an incredibly compelling answer for businesses that are looking to maintain true, actual control of their digital assets. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this fascinating model, and I will catch you in the next explainer.